Welcome back to the Keep Going podcast with Vin Kennedy. I'm your host, Vin Kennedy. Today we have a special guest. This is Miguel. Miguel, do you want to do a brief intro on yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Vin. Like you said, my name is Miguel Mendoza, and I am the host of the Leave Your Mark podcast. I am a public keynote motivational speaker, and I'm a visionary. I have a vision to help people bring their visions into reality and to help leave a limited mindset to really take off the lids of limitation and soar into their destiny, their vision, or whatever it is that they want to do in life.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And how I found you actually was my little sister. I'm big in like the motivational, inspirational, like social media kind of just those are my inputs when it comes to social media. And she always sends your content. We send your content back and forth, which was really cool. And yeah, if you kind of want to just get into how you started.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Shout out to your little sister. Thank you for that. But yeah,
Of course.
this is actually something I knew I wanted to do since I was 14 years old. When I was 13, I was diagnosed with a really bad illness called ulcerative colitis. Dealt with a lot of pain, a lot of just losing blood, anemia, and there was no cure for it. And then we miraculously found a cure in a little clinic in Mexico. And in 6 weeks, they cured me, man. But it was the process while I was over there that changed my life. And because I was kind of mentally checked out, like I just wanted to give up and go home and accept my fate and everything like that. But my mom was reading a book to me. Well, she was reading a book and kind of just spitting out nuggets, but the book was The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And I'm hearing things that I've never heard in my life, right? Because, my background is just very, very limited environment, very more on the negative toxic side of just, my community in general of at least where I was specifically kind of born and bred. But so I'm hearing things like the importance of setting goals and why it's important to actually write them down and believing in things even when it may not be favorable, even when you don't necessarily have a reason to believe, you can still believe. And even just like importance of making a vision board, right? And so I'm learning all these things at 14 years old, and I'm like, this is incredible. And it changed. So I always say I was cured in my mind first, and then I was cured in my body. And yeah, an illness that I was supposed to have for the rest of my life, or at least until it developed into colon cancer and killed me, it was gone. And I knew at that moment that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be that voice to help a kid in a hospital bed that was told that their dream is over, or help somebody that's in juvie or jail that's told or they think that their life is over, right? Or even somebody in schools who think that, what their friends say about them is true and that has to be their reality. And so that was my vision for my life. I always wanted to play football and see how far that would take me. And I ended up playing collegiately and everything like that. And it was cool, great experience. And then I started a business training athletes. So I've been a trainer for, I want to say, about 5 years. And but in the midst of that, once it kind of took off and became successful, that's when I started this podcast. And January of this year is when I went full time into giving live speeches and doing this podcast. I dropped 2 episodes a week, and yeah, so that's kind of what got me into it. And it's cool. It's been about a year now since I've started my podcast, and it's great. It's time, something that I knew was going to happen for over 10 years. It's cool to see it unfold.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. And the special thing about you, and I think why I related to you and people relate to you so well is that like you could tell the passion which you speak with and it's authentic. And I think you have a lot of people spewing a lot of messages online for clickbait, for the attention, and you could tell there's a genuine care behind your messages. And that's it. That's why it hit for me for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean,
No,
I
of
remember
course.
the first time someone reached out to me and told me that it changed their life, I'm like, okay, it's already a win. It's already a success.
Yeah,
The numbers I could care less, because that was before I was even at 1,000 followers, right? And so, yeah, it's really great to see really just what my passion and impact can kind of manifest, everything that comes with it, right? So, but I appreciate that feedback, man.
of course. And it's one of those quotes, I think it's by Frank Gaines. It's only those who could see the invisible can do the impossible. And all of what you were saying there is that, where it's like you have to have the belief, and that comes through in the way you speak and it comes through in your message. And I think that's why you are impactful because you saw it when other people didn't. And to piggyback that, like what kind of things were you telling yourself? And obviously a lot of passages from the book that your mom was explaining to you were kind of really hit for you. But what mentally, like, what was the dialogue like to get through a situation like that when you were younger?
Yeah, it was understanding that, and this sticks with me to this day. It's understanding that adversity is part of the process, right? When you have a true desire for something, right? When you have a vision, life is going to see how bad you really want it. Like I consider it like an internship, right? What's the point of an internship? You know, a company gets a pool of candidates and they want to weed out the people who really want it, who really want to be there, who they can trust, who they can give the keys to the kingdom, right? Like that's the point of it. And that's life, right? If you just really want it, life is going to throw some things at you to see like, okay, like I understand you want it, but does your perseverance align with your passion? Do your actions rely with your passion, your consistency, right? And so that was really the biggest thing is look, this is part of the process, not even for my success, but to help out people who are going to go through similar journeys that I went through, right? And so essentially that's what I developed too, is like, man, I can't be selfish here. When if I'm getting tired, if I'm feeling worn out, if I feel like giving up, then I'm giving up on a whole lot of people who I'll never even meet, right? And it's cool to see that that's exactly what's happening. So definitely just that understanding that those hard times, it's a part of the process, and they're necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I had a different situation, but a similar situation in the fact of like I battled like severe anxiety and depression when I was a fresh towards the end of my freshman year. I missed like 4 months of school, and then it like even bled into the summer a little bit. And I'm talking about like 6 to 8 months of like doing nothing but going to the doctors and just being in my room. And it was just a mental
Wow.
battle. And it's just, but that's what this is about, right? And it's the same thing. Like I could impact the people around me closest to me. And then social media gave us the ability now to help people that you don't even know. You might not even be in the same area. And it really is. It's so important. And I think it hit so hard for us because we know what it took. And we, like you said, like we gave up to an extent, right? Like where it was like you almost quit and now you have the wherewithal to help people in a similar situation. And I always say it, but like I think the best place to lead from is the place you came from. And from there you can really impact people.
That's right. Oh, that's good. I love that. I love that. But man, I'm glad you're doing better, man, because that's tough. And yeah, I relate very much, man. I missed a ton of school because of it. There was nothing. I was basically bedridden. And so yeah, man, you definitely need to go through those things to for yourself, obviously, for your self-development, but also to help other people, which I'm sure you've done and will continue to do. So that's incredible.
Try, man. It's what it's about. And like you said, it's about the giving back. And something that you mentioned that I do internally as well, and I'm just curious if how you handle it is you said you started the podcast after having some success with the coaching and everything. Do you think that kind of gave you the confidence to then venture out?
You know what? It did. And I don't say that as in I ever lacked confidence, because I just always believed that I was chosen for this, right? I always believed it. And it's just, other people didn't, and that's fine. And there's always going to be doubt, from other people. It doesn't matter who you are, how big you get. But yeah, it definitely, helped me fit a lot more demographics, right? Because cool, I battled through hard times, illness, even played college football, super cool. I can relate to a lot of people. But now I started a business from scratch, right? 3 months before the pandemic hit, went through the pandemic hanging on by a thread. Once the vaccine comes out, I get a nice little new wave of athletes, and then word of mouth spreads like crazy. And, by 25 years old, I'm making six figures. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I don't have a no master's degree or nothing like that. And, but then, the ability to not only get there but to maintain it, right? And all these things I've learned from my education, my reading, and my experiences from working past jobs. And so now I'm like, okay, now I can fit a whole other demographic when it comes to speaking to people, because in many areas in life, like I've been there, done that. You say, so I'm turning 27 soon, so that's the only knock, I guess, is if people want to kind of knock me on the age aspect when it comes to just overall life years. But yeah, it definitely helped with that confidence, just as far as maybe, there's a whole new demographic that'll actually, give me the time of day with having some success as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you see like synchronicities with like all areas of your life? Because I feel like when I first got into self-development and self-growth, I used to not understand how someone could crush it in one area and have like quote unquote success when other areas are just lacking. But the more people I meet that have the well-rounded aspect, you can feel a difference.
Yep, you hit it, man. And that's something I talk about very often is you can't be disciplined in just, the nitpicked areas of your life. And I'm even talking about like your home. Like your home should be clean and organized. Like you should be disciplined in every area of your life. That's what makes you disciplined, right? If you're only disciplined, let's say at work, but with your family you're not a disciplined person. You just so happen to be sharp in certain areas, but you're not a disciplined person, right? Because it just doesn't make sense to have it here and not have it there. But 100%, that's super crucial. And so, I mean, there was this movie with Bradley Cooper. I forget what it's called, but he takes like some sort of smart pill and
Limitless.
Limitless. What's the first thing he does?
Yeah.
He
Honestly, I forget. I think he cleans, right?
cleans his apartment.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he does, right? He didn't hit the web and do anything spectacular. He didn't go off into, some business office and pitch a great idea. He cleaned his apartment, right? But really what he was doing was he was cleaning up here, right? He was cleaning the mind, the mindset, the mentality. And you're decluttering your mind when your house, your office is organized, and just that overall discipline. And that's definitely what I aspire to do every single day, right? Because it's a daily thing we got to work at, because the motivation isn't always there, so we have to have that discipline to do it anyways.
It's so true, man. And like I'll catch myself doing it as well. Like when it comes to athletics, like I have no problem. I'll get up 4 a.m., I'll go run miles and it's no problem. But sometimes it's like that battle of like a lazy Sunday when you go to the supermarket and like somebody left their cart out and it's like just put the cart back. It's like the little things, you're right. And when I am in that and I've been on that for a bit now and it's just you feel it. Like you're just clicking at a different level.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for you, I know you mentioned earlier having before we start recording your child. So you had a child early. And if you kind of want to just like walk me through that process. I see the
Yeah.
relationship you guys have, and that's another set of videos that my sister's always sending me. And it's so cool to see the relationship because I could tell that you're opening them up to like self-development and self-growth at such a young age, and it's so impactful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that, man. So yeah, my son Marcus, he's 6 years old, and had him when I was 20. So I'm 20 years older than him, and me and his mom actually we split up before we even knew she was pregnant, right? And she's here in the Portland area, and I'm from Eastern Washington, but at the time I was actually living in Los Angeles playing junior college football. So still kind of trying to fight my ranks up to earn a spot at a 4-year university. And yeah, I get the news, and so it's like you got one of two choices. You can keep doing what you're doing, or you can pack up and move your life over there to be in your son's life, or and at the time I didn't know his gender, but your child's life. And so easy decision for me. I love kids. I have 6 little siblings. I have a niece and a nephew, and many of them I help raise and take care of. And so um yeah, it's just, obviously the co-parenting thing, it has its challenges, and more so in the beginning. But yeah, I was never willing to sacrifice my relationship with my child and his development and, his best interest. I was never willing to sacrifice any of that for any of my, selfish wants, needs, or desires. But I guess we can say the benefits of sharing custody is that when I don't have him, I can really lock in, right, to the things that I need to get done. And so that's actually when I played my last season of community college football, up at a newer league, but up in Seattle. And so I would make the drive from Seattle to Portland to see him and everything like that, and would always make it work. And so, but my biggest thing that brought me peace, because obviously it was painful not seeing him every day, but what brought me peace was just, hey, control the controllables, don't count the time, make the time count. And I always stuck to that to this day. It's like, okay, look, whatever. I don't get to see my kid every day. I can cry about it. Or when we're together, you can make it extremely impactful and fun for him and make it a blast. And I was just, I always took that serious, you know, obviously even to this day. And I've gotten more and more time with him. And now like I see him a ton. But it's just, the biggest thing, like, if you've watched, you know, a clip of him, he sounds like he's got it figured out, right? He sounds like much older than a 6-year-old. And the reason for that, man, is I just simple things, consistently, right? Like I would always answer all of his questions, no matter how tired, or exhausted I was. I would thoroughly answer all of his questions, and I would do it in a logical way to where he could understand, but also to where it would kind of challenge his understanding. And I never said the words no to him for the first 2 to 3 years of his life. I always explained why he shouldn't do something, even if he didn't understand me. He would at least understand my demeanor, even if I had to repeat myself, whatever the case may be. So that taught him to use logic, right? Instead of just kind of like, oh, I want to do something, I'm going to go off impulse. So that's why when I ask him questions on my podcast, he answers in a logical way, because I've always been in the mindset of, when it comes to like disciplining your children, is I don't want him to not do things because he's scared of me. I just want him to not want to do bad things, right? And so, you know, never spanked him, never raised my voice to him, but I would always use logic, and I would use that firm dad voice when I need to. But yeah, man, I just I gave my all to him, and all with the understanding of love and patience. And, you know, kids are not asked, they don't ask to be brought into this world. And so that should really help with our patience for them. Like when we feel like blowing up on them and really displaying bad habits that they're going to pick up on and they're going to learn, instead of doing that, you just got to understand, like, you know, they didn't ask to be brought into this world. They don't know any better. It's our job and our responsibility as parents to teach them and show them. And it starts with being the example. And so I took all that serious, man. I took it all to heart every single day, regardless of how crazy life was, regardless of, you know, we were struggling financially, regardless of whatever going on in the co-parenting custody situation. It's like, we're going to be positive. We're going to be loving, and we're going to set the example. And so, and this kid definitely has stretched my heart as far as love. You know, I never really, never saw a healthy marriage, never really knew what love was, never felt it, never experienced it, never knew how to give it. That wasn't until my son came into my life, man. And so, so shout out to him, shout out to Marcus. But yeah, it's been great. It's been fun. Being a parent's the best.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and you could tell, and especially in the videos. And my sister had my nephew's 1 years old, as of last weekend, and I have a longer leash with him, as far as like, even he's like starting to like stumble his way to walking, and like I'll let him fall, and like everybody else catches him. If he cries right away, everybody's grabbing him. And like, when I don't have him alone often, but when I do, I'm like, let's let him explore a little bit and just like figure this out. Because like you said, it's so easy to like, again, I'm not with a child all day, but like to shoo children away, right? And like not answer the questions, and just yes or no, or you don't do that, and no reasoning behind it. And you're right. It's like you don't learn anything, and you don't logically use your mind. You're right. You just kind of are forced into patterns.
That's right. That's right. And so, and I always say, like, I get it, like spanking or yelling at your kids, it may work. A lot of the times it does work. But at some point, they're going to grow up and they're going to leave you. So they're not going to have anybody to fear anymore. Right. So
Good point.
then their convictions kick in, right? Their character, their everything you've instilled into them. That's when that kicks in. And so for me, it's just like, I don't want you to be scared of me, man. Like, obviously, like you respect me and listen to me, but I don't want you to be scared of me. I just want you to, you know, want to do the right things, to understand the difference from right and wrong. And, you know, you get what you earn in this life, right? You get what you earn. And I mean, that's a good lesson for children and for adults, right? Is, you know, we can be entitled or feel entitled to a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we're going to get what we earn. Right. And if we do bad, we're going to get bad. And if we do good, we're going to get good. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely. What would you say is like the number one thing you've learned from parenting?
I kind of touched on this towards the end, but definitely love, man.
Yeah.
Unconditional love, unselfish love. Because before, man, like I mean, there's a reason why it didn't work out with me and my son's mom. I mean, we have a great co-parenting relationship now, but I had no clue what I was doing, man. Like I was so selfish. Like I thought love was, how can this person make me feel? What can they do for me? Okay, they don't make me feel this way. They don't do this for me anymore. Okay, you're useless. Off with you. And but having my son, and none of this I thought of consciously. It was all subconscious. But having my son is like, man, I'm changing this kid's diapers, making him his bottle, feeding him. He's throwing up on me. He's hard to put him to sleep, but I'm just, persevering through all this, and I'm never batting an eye. I'm never like freaking out or giving him back to his mom. Like I'm going through it, and I did it the next day, and I would do it the next day, and I never questioned it. Yet this at the time, this baby doesn't do anything for me in return. Doesn't even say thank you. Can't even talk yet, right? There's no thank you, Dad. You're awesome. I appreciate all the things you do for me. There's none of that. Doesn't do anything for me financially. Actually, he's draining my pockets, right? But that's what unconditional love is, right? It's loving someone without expecting anything in return. It's not something that they earn. It's not something that they can lose. It's just unconditional love. And soon later, his mom got married. So he has a stepdad, and then they had a baby. So he has a 1-year-old little brother. And so that really lets you know where your heart's at. It's like I grew up with that jealous mindset and all that, but it's just like, look, I love my child. So what does that mean? It means that I love his mom, and it means that I love his stepdad, and it means that I love his little brother, right? That's unselfish. There's no jealousy and selfishness in love. If there is, then I'm sorry, it's not love. I'm sorry if you're listening to this and this person, you think they love you, but that's not love. That's not what it is. There's no room for that. Obviously, like I believe in having respect in a loving relationship, but at the end of the day, if you do things in any sort of relationship, whether it's a parent or a significant other, if you're doing things just because of your benefit and not in the interest of the best interest of the other person, then it's not love, or at least you're doing a poor display of love. And so I've always just been like, look, what's in the best interest of this kid? Great. And it starts with just having a loving family of everybody getting along, of no fighting. I saw all the fighting, all the arguments, a nasty divorce, toxic people, even in my extended family. I saw all that. I'm like, this kid, he's not getting that. And so, yeah, parenting has taught me what genuine, real, unconditional, unselfish love is, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's dead on, and something that it just like rings true to is unexpected value, right? And just giving without expecting anything in return. And hearing you talk through that, obviously I don't have any children, and like I think of myself and I'm like, who do I have that relationship with? And of course I have it with family members now, but I first had to develop that with myself. Like it was really like unconditional love with myself, giving myself grace to mess up. And then even to like caveat that, I think about like relationships like you said, and it's like if the girls I've dated in the past knew the person I am now, like it's just a different person. But again, you need all of your experience. But to kind of get to that, how do you navigate like this dating world today?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. How do I navigate what?
The dating world today. Like how are you out there? It's a weird world for sure.
Man, I gotta be honest with you, man. I'm single. I'm not on dating apps or dating sites. I hate to say it, man, but I think we hit the few generations too late, man. It's
Yeah.
just, and don't get me wrong, like I'm fulfilled, man. I'm happy if I die the exact way I'm living right now, which is just focusing on my vision and my son, I'll die a happy man, fulfilled. Um, but it's tough, man. I'm definitely, I'm old school. I'm old fashioned. I believe in yeah, just the being a gentleman. I believe in a lady being a lady, and we're far away from that, man. So, I don't know if it's in the cards for me. But again, I'm at peace either way, but it's tough. And so for those of you who, you're in a great relationship, and hold on to it, because they don't come by. They're hard to come by these days. And especially, when well, I mean, in general, but especially when you kind of set yourself apart from most people in general, right? With your habits, with your mindset, then it makes it even harder. So, but I'm just someone, I'm not willing to settle in life for anything. I'm not willing to settle for, my dreams. I've been offered tremendous jobs, high paying, incredible jobs, but I'm never willing to settle for anything less than my vision, for what I want out of this life, for what I know I'm capable of getting. And I'm the same way with relationships. I'm not willing to settle. And for standards that I have, for the way of life that I live. And so yeah, that's where we're at, man.
Listen, you are preaching to the choir. I'm in the same exact boat. And I think honestly, like sometimes I get in this place where it's like, because I'm not willing to settle in other areas of my life, I may be hindering myself in the relationship area just because I can't see what's in front of me sometimes. Like I don't see the true value in someone because I'm always trying to do better in other areas. So I just bring that mindset into relationships, and listen, I mean, it's just like you said it again. It could be generational. We're definitely in a different boat. I run crazy races, and my buddy always says too, like, people, you'll talk to girls, and it's like, oh, what are you up to this weekend? It's like, oh, Saturday I'm just like running 30 miles at like 4 a.m. I'm getting up with my friends and running 30 miles. Like that's gonna weed out some people for sure as well. So
100%.
and same to you with
100%.
the and I say the same thing with like my social media where it's like, listen, this is what you get. Like you go on one of our social media pages and you see exactly what you get. Again, it does the work for us because it's kind of weeding and weeding out
Yep.
who wants to even stick around. But it's yeah, it's a lot for sure.
It's a lot, man. And for relationships that I've somewhat pursued, when it comes to, you're right, like what you see is what you get, and it always sounds nice, but then when you're actually trying to be with someone like me, someone like us, it's it's a different boat, man. It's a different boat. But yeah, it's all good. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but either way, this vision's gonna be worked on. It's gonna be fulfilled. And so whoever wants to hop on, that's great. And something I like to say too is, like, I don't need somebody exactly like me, right? Especially, I just believe in man and woman roles. I don't need somebody just like me. If anything, I could use somebody to help balance out a little bit, right? Of like, hey, let's go out and get some food and just relax and have a dinner. Like that would be nice. Right now, there's nobody in my life that's asking me for that, or at least that I say yes to. And so I'm locked in, and I love what I do. Like I love every minute of it. I'm obsessed with this. And so it is what it is. But
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. And I think too is that it's that we have the fulfillment, right? In like other areas. And now I've even built it out with like community and friends. And I'm just like so good. Like I'm just so good with me that it's like anything that's gonna add to it, I'm down for. Anything that's gonna take from it is, just let it pass me kind of thing.
right. Yep.
And just to switch gears a little bit, what is one word for you that defines how you lead your life? Or what defines a leader?
um you said one word.
Yeah.
Something that defines a leader is, I'm gonna say, example, right? I don't think the best quality in a leader is someone that can give the best rah-rah speech. I don't think it's the loudest one, the one that's like just clapping all the time in the weight room, like, come on, let's go, let's go. I think the greatest leader is someone that can lead by example, right? There's a quote, I forget who it's by, but it says, a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, right? And I believe he shows the way by just going the way, right? And so and this actually, I always tie in parenting with leadership. And what I said in parenting is you have to be the example, but it's the same thing with leadership. You can lead a team to greatness without saying a word, right? Like I was that guy in college and high school where after practice was over, I'm going to go do sprints. I'm going to do stadium laps. I'm going to run a few miles. I'm going to push myself. Like, this isn't it. Practice is over, but I can still get better. And so to me, that's the best quality in a leader is someone who can lead by example. 100%.
Yeah. No, I love that. I totally agree. And I think what it is too with that, like you're saying, like people have to want to change, right? So you can't force change and you can't tell people what to do. But
Right.
you're so right. Where if you just show them the way, the people that are going to gravitate to it, they're going to be your people and they're going to join you.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I totally agree. And then something to caveat off of that is that I saw the other day was the difference between audience and community is the way the chairs are facing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I just think that's so impactful, and it's just something I'm building out with like close friends and relationships in my life, and just seeing that this isn't a solo mission. Like I made self-development and self-growth such a like David Goggins grind where it just doesn't have to be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. It's, you know, I'm a strong believer that obviously you want to pick up habits by other people that are good, that are going to add value. But I'm a strong believer is like if you have a vision and you're going after it, the universe is going to kind of get out of your way and put the right people along your way, right? And so yeah, I'm a huge believer in that. We don't need to force anything or um be authentically ourselves while gradually learning and growing, and just putting in that work, man, and you're gonna attract the right people. I'm a huge believer. It's happened time and time again where I'm just like, where did this person come from? Or where did this resource come from? Right. It's not even just people, it could be resources. And so 100%, man, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, no, and I have a favorite artist now because he's not even like a rapper anymore. I don't know if you know Mike. He used to be Mike Stud. So he
That
goes by
rings
like
a
Mike's period now. Yeah, he's all over the
Yeah,
place. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
so he says something, it's never force a vibe, that's an easy way to kill it. And it's just something I totally agree with because you're right, like these things just click. They don't have to make sense. You know, it's even something as simple as I was just talking to a really he basically became my best friend, but we met in a sauna, like a just a sauna like cold tub spot.
Yep.
And some guys from work brought me there one day and it was like that one person who led to him, and now we're working together and we're running crazy races together and doing things, and it's the synchronicities are everywhere. You just have to look for them.
That's awesome. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I know you have to be your son's hero, but who's your hero?
My hero is I want to say I have two. Like in my football days, my hero is someone who's not very well known by many people, but his name is Bruce Irvin, and he was a linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks. But his story was crazy, man. He was involved in criminal activity in high school. He was a dropout, inner city kid, and somebody in his life just was like, man, you got to get it together, man. So he got his GED and he enrolled in community college and played football for that community college. And he was just an amazing talent. And I think he played a year or two there. And then he got a full scholarship to West Virginia University. He was there 1 year. And the next year, he was a first round draft pick in the NFL. And the reason why he was huge to me was because my senior year of high school, like I was the guy, I was on my way to, get a big time football scholarship with recruiting and all that. But I tore my shoulder literally like our last practice of the spring/summer, before we go off to a summer camp and then take a break until fall ball starts. And yeah, I tear about every ligament in my shoulder, and I'm thinking that my life is over, my career is over. And then I kind of look him up and research his story, and I'm like, man, like he showed me that there's this way, that there's this path that you can go. And so, I mean, I followed that path all the way to college. So he's definitely a hero of mine. And before my account got super huge on social media, I mentioned him in one of my podcasts, and I made a clip of it to post on social media, and he commented on it and followed me. And I thought that was
Awesome.
super
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And then my other hero is definitely Les Brown. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author. He's the first speaker I've ever listened to. This was back when I was 14. And yeah, he definitely changed my life. And I mean, to this day, he's a big hero and role model of mine. And it's definitely a bucket list thing to meet him one day.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. You're on the path to meeting him for sure.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And the last question I ask everybody is what keeps you going? Like what's that deep why? How do you get up in the morning? Like what pushes you on in the tough moments?
Yeah, it's you know, my company, my podcast, my brand, it's called Leave Your Mark, right? And it's spelled MARC for my son Marcus. But it's that means so much to me because I also think of the alternative of not leaving your mark. Like we have a good idea of what leave your mark means. It means, you do something so great in this life, you leave a mark and it's there even after you die. But what's the alternative? The alternative to me is we're all going to die one day. Father Time's undefeated. And soon, like when you die, the people that love you will miss you and they'll remember you. But if then they're going to die, right? Right now, everybody that knows you will die. It's just going to happen. Then what's left, right? And so to me, I have a saying. It's you either leave your dark, you either leave your mark or you get left in the dark, right? Because once everybody passes on that knows you, if you don't, I'm not saying you got to be a billionaire, but if you don't do something that impacts this world in a great way, it'll be as if you never existed, right? You just came here to take up some oxygen and you bounce. That's essentially what it's going to be like. And so that's something that definitely pushes me, not just for myself, but I want to help other people leave their legacy, right? I have a saying I put in, I don't forgot which bio of my social media, but I say I was born to help your legacy. And that's my vision. And that's what I feel like my purpose is in life. And yeah, so it's that's what keeps me going, man, is the biggest thing is helping other people with their vision and legacy. But I know as a byproduct, that's what will happen for me. And that's what's going to build my legacy. And so 100%, that's it.
Absolutely, man. Honestly, I really, really appreciate the time and the conversation. And it's I keep meeting like-minded people. And like we even touched on, it's just when you click on that level, it's you just get it. Like it's just a different transfer of energy for sure.
Absolutely, man. It's a breath of fresh air to meet someone like you, man. And I know we'll cross paths again and keep in touch, man. But I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you again.
All right, man.